Okay, sounds good.
All right, welcome to 6-Inch Football. I'm your host, Alex Trinkline, and today we have a very special guest, Johan Gomez. What's good?
Was good, bro. It's a pleasure to be on here. I know we've been talking about it for a minute, but now I'm glad to be on.
All right. So, um, with this podcast, we like to have the guests kind of do a little intro about themselves, a quick little, um, yes, their soccer background, what they do. So, could you just give us a little your soccer background?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Johan Gomez. I'm a 19-year-old Mexican American playing abroad for FC Porto. But I originally grew up playing locally in Dallas for Solar Academy first, and then when I was about 12, I switched to FC Dallas Academy, and I played there till I was 18, and then I transferred over to Porto. So that's kind of just a little short version of my soccer background.
Um, Start off, can you give us like the best part of living in Portugal and the worst part of living in Portugal?
Honestly, I wouldn't say there's a worst part. Like, I really love it here. It wasn't too much of a culture shock. Like Portuguese, I think I speak it pretty decently now. It's similar to Spanish, so it's not that hard. Um, the people are great. Everything is super chill. I love the weather. And the best part, I'd say, I don't know. I love the city. I love specifically the city. I know we're talking about Portugal in general, but I mostly just know like the city I live in. But I love it, honestly. It's just so beautiful. And probably that's the best part to me. And there's beaches here, so that's good.
Oh, it's always pluses with the beach.
Yeah, something we didn't have in Dallas.
So you're playing for Porto. Obviously we're gonna talk a little bit about their jersey, sponsored by New Balance, but that away jersey. How do you feel about the away jersey? I mean, is it a step down from FC Dallas jerseys?
Are you talking about the all white ones or like the navy blue ones?
All white ones with like the gray like
Yeah,
fade.
okay. I like those a lot. I'd say it's so different because so here obviously Benfica are our rivals, and at Dallas we wear a lot of red on our jerseys, and here like we don't wear red at all. Like you literally can't wear red into the locker room or anything because of Benfica. It's actually a rule, and you get fined. So I mean, it's super different. But now I don't know. I like our jerseys a lot. So I wouldn't say it's a step down. I think it's a step up in my opinion. No hate to Dallas. So
Um, so you grew up playing in the development academy with FC Dallas. What was that like? Do you think gained some valuable experiences through that? And do you think that really progressed you as a player?
oh for sure. I mean, although my experience with Dallas didn't end how I would have liked, I feel they provided me valuable opportunities. Lifelong friends that I still talk to, obviously to this day. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience. I could score a lot of goals, play a lot of games, play a lot of great teams, which was super valuable in making the jump. Honestly, I don't think if I had played I mean, some academies are very good, don't get me wrong, but if I was anywhere else, say Houston Dynamo, something like that, I don't think I would have been ready to make the jump to Europe because I'm playing with the best in Dallas. So I can't express enough gratitude to them for giving me those experiences.
Yeah. So something a lot of people say about like, I mean, DA development academy is they don't get that much like free time. They don't get time to like hang out with friends because obviously training is rigorous and you also have like school. Do you think that also applied to you?
That's an interesting question. I feel like before my last 2 years, yeah, I would agree with you. I didn't have that much free time. Like I was doing homework in the car, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, junior year was a little bit harder. Because of like AP classes in junior year is usually your hardest. But in senior year, which is my last year, I mean, classes were chill, so I wasn't doing as much homework. And honestly, an experience that you don't get anywhere else that you get at Dallas is that you go to school with your teammates. So those become like your bestest friends. So really, you're always with them. So it's not like you want to hang out anywhere else. Like you're just always with them. And even if you do hang out outside of soccer, outside of school, it's with your teammates usually. So I don't know. I'd say yeah. Like a lot of the time, you don't have a lot of free time, but sometimes it depends on your schedule.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you talked a little bit about school. Let's continue on. You committed to Portland University, right? Um, so what go? I mean, you obviously didn't go on and play for Portland, but I mean, it's a option for a lot of players to go play college soccer. What made you choose Portland over other schools?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it was a lot of factors played into it. It was a very kind of stressful decision for me and my family. Wanted to make sure, it was the right decision. Um, but honestly, like me and my family knew that was a backup option, but we did want to have it. So I visited actually locally where you live, kind of. I visited University of Denver,
Oh yeah,
which I
yeah,
really
yeah.
liked a lot. I visited UNC, Columbia, Maryland, and they were all good experiences, different experiences, but ultimately you had to weigh the pros and the cons of each one. And honestly, when I went to Portland and saw their amazing fans, the way they actually tried to play, which isn't too common, and for college teams, I was like, okay, I like it here. And apart from that, my best friend committed as well, so that didn't hurt. So yeah.
So there's a famous TikToker. He played at Portland for D1 soccer. You probably played against him, Noah Beck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do you feel? Do you think you could have been a famous TikToker? TikTok famous?
No, I don't think that lifestyle's for me. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like making TikToks and sending them to my friends. And my sister, when I go home, she always has me making TikToks. But no, actually, it's crazy because I don't think I did play. I might have played against him. I don't remember him though. But it's crazy because when he went to Portland, I guess he followed me because I knew that he knew that I would be going there as well. And I didn't know him. And honestly, I was thinking like, should I follow him back or like whatever, like because I don't know him. But I followed him back, and lo and behold, now he has millions of followers, um, and he still follows me. And we talk every once in a while, but he's busy doing big things. But yeah,
All right,
that
all right.
was
We're gonna mix up the question. Obviously, I think everybody kind of has the go-to snack. After training, after school. What is your go-to snack?
oof. It's a good point. I do like to eat a lot. Don't get me wrong, but go-to snack. It's tough. You know, I do have a sweet tooth, but I try to stay away from that kind of stuff. If it's like right after a game or something and it's like late night, I'll have, I love Oreos. Like I'll have an Oreo and milk. But that's like the non-healthy one. The healthy, you can always catch me eating apples. I eat like a couple apples every day. It's so good when I'm hungry and like craving something like non-healthy. It's good to take away that hunger, and it's really good for you. Like they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So
All right, all right. So uh, the- I guess we're in the golden generation of U.S. men's national team, with a couple, Americans playing with Barca, Chris Richards. I mean, you've obviously played against a lot of these guys with youth national teams and the DA. Do you think that? I mean, what do you think the potential of U.S. men's national team can be?
yeah, I mean, I think the sky's the limit, honestly. I've played with and against Gio. I've played with Chris. I've played with Conrad. I've played with all these guys, and you can see their quality, and you can see that the national team has a really bright future. So I mean, yeah, like I said, the sky's the limit. Honestly, we have the quality we need, and I think it's just a matter of having the right mentality to put that talent together and make it work.
All right. So, obviously, a big thing with U.S. men's national teams is like the brotherhood. Do you think you already like feel that there's like kind of a brotherhood with the youth national teams?
Today. I talked to Matteo Rattaccia, who was my roommate back in like last year at a U20 camp. We're still tight. We talk quite often, and when someone does something well, like Cello Palomino debuted the other day. I said congrats to him, and a bunch of my U20 teammates congratulated me when I scored my first goal of the season here. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's honestly a great big brotherhood. I mean, even though we're obviously competing for spots, there's no bad blood, and the competition is inside the field, but outside the field, and even when we're not together, it's always a lot of love being shown.
All right, yeah. So speaking of U.S. U.S. U20 national team, um, I've been looking at some of the players' IGs. They all have like the same posts. I don't understand. Like, there's no creativity with the IG. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, you're probably right. Honestly, I mean, we got to get a little bit more creative with the stuff we post. But I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we lack a little bit of creativity, but next time I see them, I'll make sure that we post something a little different.
Yeah. So Adidas, you have Adidas tagged in your bio. Are you sponsored by Adidas?
Yeah. Shout out to Adidas. I think I signed with them back in February around there. So it was kind of recently. Obviously, stuff with the pandemic and has slowed down their operations and stuff like that. But they're still hooking me up with boots. And when they can get certain orders out to me, they do that. So I mean, yeah, I'm blessed.
All right, all right. So I guess as soccer players, we always kind of find lessons and we learn lessons like uh like from when we were little to lock your ankles when you're shooting to now like taking on players and learning new moves. What do you think are some major lessons within soccer that you've learned?
That's a good question. I mean, there are so many lessons I've learned, like not just in football, but in life in general. But I mean, I feel like there's so many, like I couldn't just pick one. I don't know. It's a really good question. I mean, you kind of got me stumped a little bit, but I've just learned it's honestly, I think football is something that you're supposed to, like, when you get to a high enough level, if you want to reach the next level, I think that those lessons kind of never stop. You kind of have to take something from every game, from every training. And so that's what I try to do. I mean, I think I learn the best thing to do is learn a new lesson every day so you can get better the next day. And so I don't think I can point out one lesson that I've learned that's been more than the rest, because each lesson that I learn helps me become better.
All right. So, obviously, your podcasting, your podcast, Chum Chat. Um, what goes into the preparation of every episode? Is there any preparation?
That's a good question. It depends. It depends who we're interviewing. For example, this week, Bucio, we already kind of know him personally. So, for example, no hate to him. He's a great guy. It was a great episode. But it's a little bit less preparation, especially, Judd is at SMU doing college, playing well there. Tens, obviously, in the MLS, playing, being busy. I'm out abroad. So, we're all busy, So, if we can get an episode with someone that we know that takes a little bit less preparation, it's more ideal for us. But for example, when we interview someone as big as Dabo Sweeney, it's different. You can't go into an interview like that not knowing what you're going to say, what you're going to ask. So we have a Google Doc in which we all have access to, and we all put our questions there. We all access it. And then while we're interviewing people, we have our group message that we'll talk, and we'll be like, okay, I'll ask the next question. I'll ask the next question, or let me ask a follow up or whatever. And we always kind of follow a template of intro, outro, questions, typical rapid fire, depending on an interview, or if it's just a normal boys episode, then it just depends. But yeah, that's a good question. But sometimes it's like little to no preparation. We're just like, okay, today we're gonna record, and sometimes it's extensive preparation. Like, okay, this needs a week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you spoke a little bit about Judson Burns, SMU. I already can tell from watching some Chum Chat episodes. He's quite a character. What is the weirdest moment you've had with Judd?
Uh, Jed, if you're watching this, I'm not gonna expose you right now, but there's so many. There's so many. I can't even begin to tell you. Um, Man, most of them are way too embarrassing, so I don't think I could say. But man, Judd is, I'm gonna brag on him a little bit because he's just a great friend and a great guy. He's goofy, he's a little ugly, but he's got our backs and he's funny, and he kind of helped. I think he's the main reason like we all got brought together. Me, Tanner, and Judd specifically. So he's a great guy, and there are too many embarrassing moments to tell, but. maybe we can talk about it next time.
I don't really know what he's doing with that like bleached mullet thing. I don't. I just know. It
I
shouldn't
don't know. I
happen.
don't know. I think he thinks it looks good, but I mean, I think he has a girl now. I mean, he was talking about it in one of the episodes, but I don't know if that's working for him. It's working for him, but we'll see what he does with it.
He better not have been in that like SMU student section for that football game.
I saw that. I saw that. I have to ask him about that actually because I saw they were all getting kicked out. But I think he's been. I think actually he's been quarantined because someone from the team tested positive, so he's been isolating. Oh, and actually no, on the weekends he typically goes to his ranch. I think he was out there. But yeah.
So so what kind of sports? I mean, what kind of teams do you follow within, I guess, sports overall?
Just sports overall.
Yeah.
I mostly stick to obviously like football, like soccer. Just following those kind of teams, and that's the sport I easily watch the most of. But anyone who knows me knows that I love all sports and try to keep up with, especially my hometown team, which is Dallas. I love the Mavericks, Luca Magic, Cowboys. I'm a pretty diehard Cowboys fan, but especially being out here and not being able to watch the games typically is I've followed them less, and obviously since it's the same thing every year with the Cowboys. I just decided not to waste my energy on supporting them. Um, but my dad graduated from the University of Texas, so we're Texas Longhorns fans for college football. And yeah, I mean, honestly, you can just catch me supporting any team from Dallas, whether that be Texas Rangers, Dallas Stars, whatever. Yeah.
All right. So, um, obviously, there's an added amount in the recent years of pressure on the U.S. men's. I mean, at least all U20 teams, specifically U.S. men's national team, U20, U17 teams. Just because I guess U.S. men's national team fans like to hype up young players. Do you think there's an added pressure to being on the U.S. men's national team, U20?
No, I honestly don't think so. I mean, I feel like with any good player, people are gonna hype him up. It's up to the player to not let that get to his head and stay focused on his goals and getting to that next level. And actually achieving his potential. So I feel like honestly, I mean, yeah, the U.S. fans do hype up a lot of players early on, but I don't know personally, but I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Mexican players, with Portuguese players, and I have actually noticed that. So I mean, I feel like it would be no different in other countries, and honestly, I feel like maybe in other countries that there'd be more pressure because a lot of countries have more history and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, obviously, there's a lot of good players coming out of FC Dallas Academy. But specifically, I mean, what we talk about, we see Chris Richards, we see Weston McKennie, um, you, plenty others. Are you the drippiest player to come out of FC Dallas Academy?
Um, nah, that's a good question. I feel like before I'd say no, but I'm getting my style up. I feel like now I'm up there. Chris has got a little bit, but Weston Weston does have drip as well, but I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll get back to you in a year or so. But no, I think it's a good competition right now. But yeah, I think it's between maybe those three.
All right. Um, so obviously, there's not that much spotlight on the soccer agents and that side of soccer. Um, can you shine a little bit of light about what it's like having an agent or being with the agency?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not a lot of people know about that kind of side. And actually, so my dad has kind of like a little blog and a website, and he goes into depth in an article about it. Actually, I'm pretty sure. I have to ask him. I'm not sure if he did, but I think he was working on one. But yeah, so me and my brother are assigned to Octagon, and we share the same agent. Shout out Mike. And it's just so originally, I guess I was approached in GA Cup like in 2017, 2018 by him, and I was connected through the club, and we started talking and stuff like that. And obviously, as you get a little bit older and there's more interest, more agents come. So that's a process that you have to go through with your family and stuff, choosing the right one because not all every agent has different connections and every agent has different intentions as well. So you have to make sure you're choosing the right one. But yeah, honestly, your agent is the guy that helps you get sponsorship deals, negotiates your contract for the most part. So, it's someone who will, well, it depends because I mean, for me, I think that I might have a different relationship with my agent than others do, because he's pretty tight with me and my brother and my family. So he's always checking up on me, making sure that I'm good mentally, good physically, and stuff like that, giving me tips. But obviously that varies agent to agent, so don't take my word for it. But in general, every agent will negotiate your contract, sponsorship deal, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So my club, Real Colorado. Obviously you've probably played them a little bit in the NBA. How many times have you? What's like the record of wins to losses against Real Colorado for
I'm
you?
not gonna lie, Real Colorado typically did give us some trouble. I think one time in U19 year they beat us when we played it in Colorado. I remember that specifically because actually the University of Portland head coach and the University of Denver head coach were there to watch that game. Excuse me. And we lost. And I remember specifically I had a chance to tie it and I missed. So that's how I remember that game. But typically we'd always beat Real Colorado. But they were they were pretty good. Don't get me wrong. They were probably honestly they were typically better than the competition that the Rapids would give us. But it was just because Real Colorado had like such. I remember they had such like a fighting spirit. Like they would always fight, 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 and it was always very physical games. So that's what made it tough. But no, typically I'd say I think only I can remember one, maybe two times losing. I doubt it. But yeah, one I remember for sure.
Yeah. So so you're playing with Porto, Porto B. What's that like with the training? Is it like more intensity with training than with FC Dallas?
Yeah, without a doubt. The intensity is unmatched, and I think the only training I've ever been that's kind of matched it is with the national team. Um, but yeah, no, no, no. FC Dallas, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of quality, but sometimes we lack intensity. Here, every day, every single second of every training session is intense, and if it's not, they're gonna get onto us. So yeah, it's unbelievably intense every day. So you just got to be ready for that.
Yeah, so you're kind of moving around positions. Have you always played like striker? Um, and all right. So talking about intensity, um, and U.S. youth national teams, have you seen a fair share of players just like get like not be able to progress as fast as you, as I guess as a player?
Uh, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, you look at players like, Gio Reyna, who's younger than me and already playing for the first team for Borussia. Or, players like Des, who's only a year older than me, but already playing for Barcelona's first team. It's just I feel like everyone has their different career path. There are players who are doing better than me, quote unquote, better than me, or players who are doing quote unquote worse than me. So I feel like, it can change. Football's like that. It can change in a second. Tomorrow I could be playing in the Champions League for Porto's first team, or the next day, I could just be back with the B team or whatever. So I feel like every player, that's the beauty of football. Every player has their different career path. So I don't think it's anyone's doing better or worse. I feel like even if you're in that pool, just in general of national team players, you're doing well.
Yeah. So I guess at least with I guess Real Colorado, there's a lot of different teams. I mean, and very good teams. I mean, the right because we have a DA team, a ECNL team, and teams that play in Colorado Champions League, which is all very good. So I mean, even if you're on the third team, you're a very good player. Except the only thing is, I guess, player comparisons is kind of brings a lot of players down. Do you think that was that a problem for you as a kid, is comparing yourself to other players your age that were better?
Um, Honestly, it never really was a problem for me, I would say. I think there was maybe a period, maybe when I reached FC Dallas, it was like, okay, I think the club rates maybe some players higher than they rated me. But I don't think it really affected my confidence because the way I saw it, I was just thinking, I'm like every time I get the chance, I'm outperforming those guys and I'm showing my worth. So if they don't believe in me, I have to go somewhere else. So I think no, I honestly live by a quote and I'll share it with you. I think I don't know who said it, but comparison is the thief of joy. So if you're constantly comparing yourself with others, you're never going to be happy because you're always going to be comparing yourself to people because there's always going to be someone who's better than you, like without a doubt. So I mean, I think the best thing you can do is focus on yourself and try to maximize your potential instead of focusing on others.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, growing up, was there a certain player you kind of admired or based your game off of?
It's a good question. Honestly, growing up, I can't say I based my game off of anyone because I was very immature as a player. I think I was a little bit of a late bloomer. And I kind of just had my own game. But someone that I just admired very much, and even to this day, like, it brings a smile on my face when I watch him play is Ronaldinho. And he's just, for me, honestly, if he had carried along his high level for a couple more years, he'd be the GOAT. But yeah, I mean, he was such a great player, always smiling, making it look so easy. Yeah, that's who I admire the most, honestly. And Cristiano, obviously, because of his work rate, but just in general, I'd say Ronaldinho is someone I admire.
So are you the same age as Chris Richards?
No, I'm a year younger. I'm a year younger
Oh,
than
all
Chris.
right. So, and um, did you ever like play up an age group, or were you always like,
I played up 1 year. I played up 1 year from U15 to U17. And then when I was a U17, the next year I played up a couple games with the 19s. So I think I did get the shot to play with Chris if that was gonna be your next question.
so you've interviewed a lot of people with Chum Chat. Um, I'm not going to make you say who's the best person or the worst person, but who had the good interview that you wouldn't think would have that great of an interview, or was exceptional, had an exceptional interview, I
I
should say.
think shout out to Danelle Leva, gymnast, gold. Oh, actually, no, not gold medalist, but silver and bronze medalist. And for male gymnastics, I mean, that's super impressive. Um, I mean, all the guys were blown away. He spoke about football, he spoke about gymnastics, he gave great tips. And I mean, tips from someone like that are just extremely valuable. He's literally achieved the pinnacle of his sport. Even guys in football dream to play in the Olympics and win the Olympics. So I think not that I didn't expect him to have an exceptional interview, but he just blew all three of us away. And I think that's been the only time that we were like, wow. Like we were literally afterwards when we hung up, we were just kind of speechless. It was amazing.
All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, I've totally forgot my question. So you're wearing the Nemesis right now. I guess I kind of focus a little bit on boots. Are you a Nemesis player? You like wearing Nemesis?
Yeah, I'm an Nemesis guy.
All right. You like why do you like the Nemesis though? Are you like the low
So there's a funny
profile?
story. I'm pretty superstitious, and so my last year in the United States, which I think was my best year. I mean, I won Central Conference Player of the Year. I think was averaging a goal or a little bit more than a goal a game. Uh, and we got to the finals. I wore Nemesis like all that year, and the white and pink ones. I don't know if you remember those. Those are like my go-tos, and I wore them literally all throughout my trials. And I was wearing them when I earned my contract here at Porto, and I wore them until they literally tore. And and yeah, I mean, when I signed with Adidas, they obviously give you the chance to choose which model you want to wear. And for me, and honestly, they gave me the chance to do Nemesis laceless or Nemesis like with laces. And I always played with the Nemesis with laces, so I was like, just give me those. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, all right. So, Cole Bassett, obviously, I think you said something about him earlier, but he doesn't show too much motion. Um, Tell me a little bit about Cole Bassett. I mean, I guess I've kind of watched him a little bit because, I mean, it's a local guy. What's some interesting thing that you've learned about Cole Bassett over the years?
Well, shout out Cole. We actually our relationship kind of started because we're represented by the same agent and agency as well. And there's a video out there of me stealing the ball off him and going on to score a solo goal and win 1-0 in Colorado. So I always tease him about that. And that's kind of where our relationship started. And I think it's just blossomed since there. I mean, we're good friends. We talk all the time. And yeah, I mean, like you said, he's quiet, but on the field, he's a leader on the field, and he's got enormous quality. I was teasing him because he plays like an 8, 10-ish position, and his finishing was super good last time I saw it. So yeah, you can catch him scoring goals, and he's just a great player and a great guy, and I really look up to him the way that he kind of carries himself and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he might seem quiet, but definitely when we're hanging out, he shows emotion, and he's just like the rest of us, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think something interesting about I guess relatable for me with Cole is that he didn't make it on a team that he wanted to. Um which is kind of like me. I guess you kind of get lost at these big clubs is you get like on a team you don't want to be, and so you kind of have to build yourself, I guess, up, which he did, and he eventually made himself into a home run player, which is definitely relatable. And I mean, he grew up playing for Rush, which is also another rival of my club. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so obviously you got a lot of good connections, getting good guests on your show. You think we can get a couple good guests on 6 Inch Football?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you want Cole on, just DM him and I'll tell him to look out for it.
All right, all right. Um, so um, would you rather play on like grass, like some nice grass, or are you more of like like to play on turf?
I hate surf. I hate surf. I love I 100 times. I'd rather play on awful grass than good turf, honestly.
All right, all right.
I just
But
hate it
I
that.
mean, in Dallas, does grass grow like decent over there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Our grass fields were amazing. But we train on turf every day, and not that I honestly that turf was not that bad. But when I came over here last year with the 19s, we would train on turf every day, and it was awful and it was hard. And I mean, the field was good, but it was just like I felt like it was hard, and now we train on really nice grass. So
All
thankfully,
right, all right. So obviously, youth national teams is sponsored by Nike. Do you get some like good national team gear?
yeah, for sure. But I don't get to keep it.
Oh,
I mean, some players, sneak a little shirt home or whatever. And but yeah, I mean, even if I wanted to, I couldn't because I can't wear Nike outside of that stuff.
all right, all right. Do you got some good memorabilia? I mean, from playing throughout your years.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, it could be anything like a jersey or like I mean, like a pair of cleats, or like something another player gave you, like a jersey swap. You know.
To be honest, I mean, up until I don't even know if this year we can jersey swap. I'm assuming we can, but up until this year, like we haven't been able to jersey swap or whatever it may be. But I think probably so. I got two players from the first team's jersey last year. I got Tecatito's jersey, which is the Mexican national team player. And he gave it to me off his back after a game. And then Marchesín gave me his jersey and he signed it. And he signed a couple things for my family. So that was pretty cool. I think those are probably the two best things right now. But I have other stuff I have other stuff like pictures of players and things that players signed like Gordvinho. I think back in like 2014 before the World Cup, got a picture with him and he signed my shirt and I'm at Colo Touré. My dad met Drogba and got a picture of him. So yeah, stuff like that.
All right. So you mentioned your little brother a little bit, Jonathan, right?
Yes, sir.
So obviously, as what is the age difference between you guys?
2 years. I'm in R1. He's in O3.
All right. So have you kind of, I mean, as you guys were growing up, kind of like taught him a little bit about some ins and outs of the game, I guess?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I'm gonna take a little bit of credit for that. I feel like he's definitely learned. He's definitely gotten a jump on his development because of lessons he's learned from me. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player, but it always helps to learn from older people, and especially if it's in your own family. So yeah, my dad taught him a lot as well as I think personally that I've taught him a good amount as well. But yeah, he's a great player.
I mean, my little brother, let's see. So he's in third grade, so a little bit of a longer difference, but he's a baller though. He'd be scoring like several goals a game. Um,
That's good. You gotta lock him in, keep him on the right path.
no, I almost like my grandpa. He really likes baseball, and my little brother almost fell to baseball. I was like, that's not gonna happen.
No, 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 no. You gotta keep him on the soccer track.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's see. Is there any secret deleted scenes of Chum Chat that nobody knows about?
So many that don't make the cut. I mean, we try to keep our stuff clean, because of obvious reasons. You know, me and Tanner play for professional clubs. Judd plays for SMU, which is a very highly touted university. So, uh, yeah, I have a couple of episodes on my computer, and I'm sure Judd does as well. That just didn't make it at all because it was just not clean enough. But and even some stuff that we say that maybe could go on if it's iffy, like we don't put it on typically, you know. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
All right. So when do you think? I guess you could play for Porto's like first team, like good minutes. I mean, I know you're playing for Porto B and getting good minutes, but when do you think you can get good minutes with the first team?
That's a good question. I think football is all about moments, you know. So it could be tomorrow, it could be in 2 years. Realistically see if I have a good season this season, maybe I can, jump into it by the end of not get meaningful minutes, but maybe jump into it by the end of the season, start being integrated into the first team by the end of the season, which is hopefully my goal. And who knows, honestly, like I said, football is all about moments. So it could be tomorrow, could be, who knows, it could be in 2 weeks and in 3 months. So we'll see. But I think primarily I just want to have a really good season this season. So even if I don't make that jump this year, I mean, maybe there's another club who wants me in their first team, and then we'll go from there.
All right, all right. So uh so with coronavirus, we see, players, I mean, lots of injuries because I guess players have not been working out. They haven't been, properly training. What do you think? What have you been doing during quarantine to, keep you fit, keep you on your game, you know?
Yeah, so I had two programs. I had one from Porto, and then I had one that I was following from the national team, that I specifically asked for. So I was doing as much as I could from home. So originally I was stuck here, but then I flew back like April, right before things got like super super bad. So I was there at home like from April to July-ish, beginning of July. So yeah, I mean, I was just doing as much gym work as I could. I would go. Luckily, I had like a field right by my house with goals, and I could just go and work there with my brother when he was home or by myself. And so I think I had a decent advantage over a lot of people who didn't have that. So I think I was pretty active, and luckily I took it very seriously. Taking care of my body and stuff like that. So thankfully, as of right now, I'm still healthy.
I think at least for me it was good because obviously well I moved over the summer, which was kind of weird. And I didn't take like a long break. I mean a little bit like a month or two off because I mean soccer, indoor soccer, it's all throughout the year, so you know, it's good. Um so you still you still haven't chosen between the US men's national team and the Mexico national team. Um What do you think are some pros of playing with the national team, U.S. men's national team? And what are some pros of playing with the Mexican national team?
I honestly think that this is the same pros. You get to represent your country. You get to, play with great players. You get to hopefully participate in the World Cup and qualifiers and important games like that. So I think honestly, for the most part, the pros are the same. I think it's just the difference between fan base and coaches and players and stuff like that. But the U.S. and Mexico, it's a big rivalry, but I think in a lot of ways pretty similar in terms of, like you said, pros and I mean, I don't think there are any cons. At the end of the day, it's everyone's not everyone's dream to represent their country. So I think either way, it'd be a great honor.
Yeah. So obviously that moment with Matt Miazga and Lalien, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Linus, yeah,
Yeah. Where Matt Miazga did the little like you're shorter than me thing.
yeah,
Do you think that's the just the start of a bigger picture of like some on-field aggression? I mean, I remember somebody sat like on Josie Altidore in the final of Gold Cup. Is this going to continue? You think? Well,
yeah, yeah. I think it's just in the DNA of the rivalry. It's just what U.S. and Mexico do. You can go back and I'm sure you can watch. I'm sure there's probably a compilation out there of U.S. and Mexico's most heated moments, and it's not gonna stop. It's not ever gonna stop. I don't think. It's just part of the rivalry. It's what a rivalry is. So, yeah, I think and I'm certain it's gonna get even more intense as the years go because the U.S. is now getting more quality as well. So, the games will be better than ever.
yeah, I mean, and then there was that big moment where like Landon Donovan said he's supporting Mexico in the World Cup. Like everybody went crazy. Taylor Twellman just completely had he had another rant. So uh, do you think that like so FC Dallas, what is like the player pathway at least? So I'm a 16 say I'm a 16-year old in FC Dallas Academy. I'm on I'm getting a couple trainings maybe with the first team, and I'm obviously on the DA team. What do you think? What is the pathway for me? I guess.
I think right now it depends. I mean, now that they have the second team in North Texas, I think that's the pathway. You go from the academy, you get games from North Texas, you earn a North Texas contract, and then hopefully you earn a homegrown contract. But at the end of the day, you know, excuse me, that's not what everyone wants. That's not the pathway for everyone. Like I said earlier, football is all about different players having different pathways. So, for me, I didn't see myself playing in USL League One for 1, 2 years before I could move up to MLS. And same thing with my brother. I mean, I'm sure he'd be down to talk to you, but it just wasn't, for a player his quality, it just didn't make sense to not be go directly into the MLS. So that's why he left and that's why he's getting more opportunities at Louisville. So yeah, I mean every player is different. You see Justin Shea, who's a good friend of ours, just get signed homegrown. I mean that's his path. That's what he chose. But it doesn't work out for every player, and that's why players learn and grow. And yeah, so I couldn't tell you your pathway. It's solely based on your preferences and how you see yourself in the team.
Yeah, and I mean I mean Tanner Tessman, your good friend. I mean he played a little bit for uh North Texas and then got moved up to the first team. So
Yeah, and look, let me tell you this. I can guarantee you if they had offered, which I think they did, if they had offered Tanner a North Texas contract, he wasn't going to take it, and he didn't. So they realized, okay, we have to offer him a homegrown if we want to keep him. So, it just depends on what players want and stuff like that, because a lot of players won't take a North Texas contract, and other players will be more than happy to take one.
yeah. So I think, I mean, with a couple of players, they're kind of just, I mean, they get stuck in the system. I think like Orlando City has a system. I'm Seattle has a system. Even Dallas has a system where they have their first team and their second team, and some players just jump from club to club, but they're always on the second team, and they need to change. They need to go to a club that is just it's like its own club, not an MLS club. Do you think that players kind of get stuck within being on farm teams of MLS teams?
I know that typically happens a lot in baseball.
Yeah,
I think in football or soccer, it depends. I feel like if you're young and you have the quality, you won't get stuck. But some players, might come back into for example, there might be some FC Dallas Academy graduates that graduate and then come back into North Texas, and it's difficult because they're a little bit older and maybe now it's easier for the club to look at the younger guy that plays the same position and be like, okay, the older guy might have a little bit more quality now, but I have more time with the younger guy to develop him. So typically, the younger guy will get the opportunity. So I'd say that's more happens for older guys. So I feel like if you're younger, you won't really get stuck in that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Uh, did you play soccer throughout your whole life? Did you ever like switch to a different sport for like a season or two?
No, I played different sports up until about sixth, seventh grade. Well, sixth grade, I played, I guess, my last official sport because seventh grade, when I joined officially the FC Dallas Academy, I couldn't play anything else. But no, I would always play different sports, but I would just play soccer, either simultaneously or that year as well, even if it was like fall season. I would play baseball, basketball, and I never played tackle football, but I would play flag football like every year almost.
Yeah. So your friend Tanner, he got a football scholarship for as a kicker. Do you think are you a better football kicker than him?
Oh no, no way. Tanner has a fantastic leg and he hits it well with both. I'm sure I could be a great kicker. Don't get me wrong, but first of all, I've never kicked. And Tanner hasn't really kicked either, but he has at least had a little bit of practice. If you put me out there, I would need to learn a little bit how to get it right. But no, I think Tanner has me beat just solely by the power and his legs. But don't get me wrong, I think I'd make a great kicker as well. So maybe that'll be my backup option.
So you've kind of you kind of moved around positions a little bit as an outside wing, outside midfield, and as a striker. Have you always played the kind of those attacking positions throughout your soccer career?
Yeah, I've never seen myself honestly as a defensive player. I mean, I don't want to rule that out of the picture because who knows? I could transfer to, kind of like what happened to Davies. He's a winger now. He's an outside back. That could happen to anyone. It could happen to me. So, I don't want to put it out of the question because I don't want them to come back to this interview and be like, "Oh, he didn't want to be a defensive player." But I think it's in my DNA to score goals, create goals. So I've always been part of that offensive part. And honestly, I've always been kind of like a nine. No, some years I would play 10, and then some games I would play as a winger. But when I went to the national team, I was a nine, and then one game I went out to a wing, so Charlie could play nine. But yeah, I mean, I think I take pride in my versatility, and I think I play every position. I think I play it great, honestly.
I mean, I'm just saying, U.S. men's national team kind of needs a striker. I'm just just
Hey,
just
that's the
just saying.
plan. That's the plan. Hopefully, I can step up into that role, but we'll see.
Yeah. So you spoke a lot about the U.S. youth national team. Is there like they added staff? Like, is there a good amount of staff for those? I mean, national teams, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been to a camp in over a year now because the last one I went to was in September. I got called up in January, which I was injured for, and then in March we are gonna have one here in Portugal. I got called up for, but it got canceled due to Corona, so we haven't had one in a while. But I remember them having a decent amount of staff. So there was Tab, which was the head coach, and then I remember Brad Friedel, which is a national team legend. I remember Frank. So those are the main two assistant guys, and then they have a bunch of like trainers. So yeah, I mean everyone's looking after you. They have like the manager guy, which is Connor, and like the nutritionist and just all that stuff. So yeah, they have a lot of people on staff, and this was in Slovenia. So keep in mind they can take less people. So I'm sure if it was in Florida or something like that, then there would be more.
Yeah, yeah. So, obviously, kind of the path for players after their career is either they get into coaching or they kind of get into commentary. What path do you think you maybe would take after?
I feel like I could tell you that after my career, honestly. I feel like honestly I'm like a great coach. I see the game very well. And I feel like when I watch my film back, I immediately understand what I did wrong and how I can improve it. But, maybe my career is just okay. I'm just tired of being critiqued or whatever and just want to relax. And, because with coaching, I mean, it's basically like playing, except you're not taking that physical toll on your body, but it's kind of more of a mental toll. And people are still getting on to you and you can still get fired for in like 3 games. So I mean, if I have a family or whatever, it might be more difficult to get into coaching. But commentary, I mean, it's interesting as well. I remember I used to kind of like I would watch games and I would try to commentate them. So I mean, maybe that's something I would get into later on because I think it's fun. Like when you're talking to your homies about certain games, whether it's football, soccer games, it's fun like discussing that kind of stuff. So we'll see. But I can see myself getting into either one of those, honestly.
Yeah, you could go, Tony Romo. I mean,
Yeah, Tony Romo. I mean, getting some big money now, so we'll
yeah,
see.
he gets paid more than Zinedine Zidane though. So,
Really, I might have to get my. I might have to learn about my American football a little bit more.
all right. So, I think that's all the questions I got for you. You got anything else to add on? You got any questions for me? Um,
No, I mean, I kind of got to know you a little bit before we started the interview. So, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, just keep going. This is a great start. I mean, you're 14 years old, right?
yeah, just turned
14,
14.
starting your own little podcast, playing for a good, great club, Real Colorado. So, just keep going. You're on a good path, a really good path. So, yeah, that'd be my only advice to you. Just don't put your head down if anything bad happens, because something bad will happen. Don't get me wrong. Life isn't perfect. But just keep going, and it's all about mentality. So just stay strong.
Yeah. It's funny that you say I'm playing for a good club. I mean, we did win 11-1. Yes, I mean on Sunday, Saturday. So
That's good. Congrats. Hey, stay safe with COVID though.
yeah. I mean, actually, so they split up. They split up. The Colorado, I guess, all the clubs in Colorado play in their own like Colorado league, and so they kind of split them up into different sections instead of playing us all in the same league. So I'm only playing teams from basically like Highlands Ranch, Douglas County area instead of having to go up to like Boulder, where coronavirus is really bad. So it's all good. All right, that's 6 inch football. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like if you're listening from YouTube, and if drop a follow if you're listening from Spotify. Thank you guys and have a good one.